I want to go back to when I was in Madisonville, Texas. I was 12 years old. And that was actually the first job I had, I was telling you, and attending the Coke box. Well, I had to stay busy. All the time I was there, I was making that 50 cents. But I mean, when I wasn't attending that Coke box, I had to be dusted and everything. And so, one Saturday, I didn't slow down for nothing. And Saturday night, Robert Burgess called me up to the office. Said, Nelda, said, you know, I've watched you today. You worked hard, and says, I'm going to give you $2 extra. And I was only making 50 cents. I said, I'm going to give you $2 extra in your envelope, but don't tell Smith. They were brothers. And I said, okay. Later on, Smith calls me in the office when Robbie wasn't there. Nelda, I've been watching you today, and said, you worked hard. Said, I will give you $2 extra in your salary envelope tonight, but don't tell Robbie. That was $4, and I was making just 50 cents a week. Now I had $4.50. I was in hog's heaven. Ooh. So I go home and I tell Daddy, I said, Daddy, that isn't right. And I said, you're supposed to be honest. You've taught us to be honest. And I said, what am I to do? He said, well, Robbie told you not to tell Smith. Smith told you not to tell Robbie. And so you can't do it. And I didn't. Well, I was able to buy a pair of shoes for 50 cents. Saddle locks were too back there. A pair of shoes and some socks and panties. And go skating again and have fun. And a ring, that ring came first, my little 10-cent ring. Is that thing still going?
Yeah.
And but that $4.50, well, I bought a lot of stuff. You could buy lots of stuff there for that. But I think I bought dress material too. To Mama to make me a dress. She always made my dresses, button them up down the front, all of them.
She used to do quilting too.
Oh, I know. I was little Mama always quilted, and she made quilts. And who was the last quilt she made for? Was it Greg?
Do you remember where she had her quilting frame?
Yeah, you even got a thing quilted on it.
Where was it?
Right, Huntsville.
Where was it hanging?
In the middle back bedroom back in there.
When Uncle Obert was in the military, what military was he in?
It was the Army.
Army. Did he bring anything back with him?
Just that fiddle.
That fiddle?
Uh-huh.
What did he do? Like, did he write anything?
No, he didn't bring that fiddle back. It was that banjo mandolin he brought back. That's
Oh,
what
okay.
He brought back, yeah.
And he wrote stuff on it?
Yeah, well, he wrote Italy, Spain, France, Japan,
And the
everywhere
fiddle.
he'd been,
He brought
all
the
the way
fiddle,
around
too.
it. Uh-huh.
So he brought the fiddle too.
No, he did not. That fiddle was paid Mr. C.E. Baldwin bought that in a little $10 shack in Mexico. He bought it for $10 in Mexico, and when Mr. Baldwin died, Miss Baldwin gave it to Obert. When Obert died, I got it. It cost him, what did I say, $2? And the banjo mandolin cost him $4. And, but we've had musical entertainments we call all the time. And Daddy would never play for a dance, except C.Y. Townley. Daddy never had to buy a pair of shoes. C.Y. Townley was a millionaire up in Huntsville. And he'd go buy a brand new pair of shoes, come down and let Jim shine them at the shop, and give them to Daddy. And so finally, when C.Y. wanted to change our band to C.Y. Townley String Band. So it went into C.Y. Townley. There's the picture of our band, but it's somewhere, I guess, in storage.
What was your favorite song to play
Huh?
when y'all were in that band? What was your favorite song to play?
Oh Lord, I don't know. I like Buck Shirt's Mockingbird. Oh, God, that's beautiful.
Didn't you tell me before that you yodeled?
Hmm? Yeah, I've yodeled a little bit, but not church too. I used to sing in a quartet, duet. I sang alto in a duet. I sang bass at a quartet at church.
What kind of music did you listen to back then?
Country.
Were there any like artists that were your favorite or that played around
Well,
that?
see, back when I was just a little kid, we didn't have a radio when I don't know how old, but then Mama kept that radio on national or whatever it was where you could get country music. All the time she kept the. Mama always wanted to go to Hawaii. She wanted to go to Hawaii so bad. Never got to go anywhere. She couldn't get out of that house. Raising kids. Mama took care of her daddy's daddy, and he died when he was 48 years old. And then she took care of Uncle Austin till he died. And then when we were kids all growing up, Mama would never know who she's gonna find on the living room floor when she got up in the morning. Boys would bring in friends.
When you used to tell me that great grandpa used to do something when he wanted some more drink, something more in his cup.
He'd have a glass of milk, a glass of coffee, a cup of coffee, and a glass of water. And if his cup was empty, he'd just pick it up and set it down. Pick it up and set it down. And so one time we were sitting in our chair by Papa and me. We were sitting in our recliners or lazy boys watching TV. Papa picked a little yellow cup. It was a yellow one. I think mine was an orange one. He pick it up, grin, like a chest cat. I said, buddy, if you want a cup of coffee, ask for it. If you don't, you get up and get it yourself.
So back to when you were living in Houston, when you were single. Where'd you work at?
Well, I told you I worked at Wine Gardens, and then I don't know just how it come out. I started working for Ed Byers, and Ed Byers' uncle, Dr. J.E. Morris, is the doctor that delivered me when I was born. Really weird, And Mr. Byers had a mistress, and she would come over. This mistress's husband made the first map of Houston, Texas. The very first map that was ever made of Houston, Texas. This woman's husband made it. But anyway, she would come over to the store and go down to, what's his name? That little grocery store down.
Allen?
Huh? Down at the little restaurant down the street in Houston.
Oh.
Anyway, and I'd have to go with them. I'd have to go with them so that they wouldn't get talked about.
Did you have any other stories from that time when you were single before you got married the first time?
Where were you working when you lived with Ruth?
Well, I was working for Mr. Myers. I got Ruth for a job there. Ruth Edwards. And I lived with them for a while. And we lived on Pico Street at one time too. Or what was it that we
I
lived
haven't
with?
got there yet.
No, Uncle Bill lived on Pico, yeah. Uncle Bill.
So then you met your first husband. What was his name?
Bill Sylvester. God, I didn't meet him. I was working for the telephone company
Where were you living?
in Huntsville. I dated him for about a year, but then we broke up. He's been married about 6 times. He married women he felt sorry for, and I didn't love the man. I liked him all right, but I didn't love him. And I was laying up in bed with double pneumonia, and I didn't know my rear end from a hole in the ground. And so I looked out the window one day. I was there at the bed, and here comes this red marker convertible, and this guy in this blue serge suit with black wavy hair, black shirt and tie come in. It was Bill. I said, Bill, what in the world are you doing here? He said, I came to take you to the doctor. I said, did you know I was going to the doctor? Oh, little bird told me. Well, he took me to the doctor and I was married that night before I knew what was going on.
You got married when you were sick?
That night. Yeah. I mean, he'd gone in there and got the license. I was married and don't remember nothing about it. I think Frank Park performed the ceremony at his house.
You don't know who all was there?
No, just I just remember us getting married. We had to have the witnesses.
Who were your witnesses?
I don't know.
So then you woke up the next day and you were married?
I was married, yeah.
Were you a virgin when you got married the first time?
Of course I was.
Look me in the eye, Grandma.
Huh? Hey, I told her a while ago, my first date that I ever had in my life, where's Nikki? She gone?
She's gone.
I was 12 years old. And the boy I went out with that night,
What was his name?
Seabird Parker, he was 7 years older than me.
Good Lord.
And of course I wasn't supposed to date.
Neither
But
was
he'd come pick
Supposed
me
to
up.
date a 12-year-old.
I walked down the street. I walked down the street and Seabird picked me up. We went to the movies. It was an afternoon. In the afternoon, we went to the movies. After we got out of the movies, we come back and he let me out.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Back then, did people do things before their, not necessarily sex, but other
What?
things?
Like touchy-feely stuff before?
Like what kind of makeout sessions did kids have back then?
Kissing.
Papa didn't have any. Papa talked.
No, before you were married, like when you were young, a teenager. Did you go to like a lookout point and make out with boys?
No, I didn't make out, but I've been out there at the church. We had that's something else I better tell.
You met up with boys at the church?
No. Hey, I could almost name the boys I dated on my 5 fingers. I was as ugly and fat as I was.
Oh Lord.
Hey, I was extremely particular, as fat as I was. I was a little blonde-headed boy I liked, but I didn't date him. And I can't think of his name now. But,
Did other people, like your sisters or your brothers?
but anyway, what I was going to tell you is this. Let me tell you this.
She's just breezing past that question.
I know.
We had where does she keep going?
Just keep talking.
Oh. But when we was going to church, or all Earl and Lewis Gaines was my teacher, and we went. They were much older than us, and I heard the Japanese nursery out there, and we'd all go out to the Japanese nursery and have winter rolls and sack races and parties and everywhere out there. And so whenever me and Papa met, but let's start back. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get back to Bill.
Okay.
Me and Bill met, and I don't know why we married him, but we wasn't married but what, 3 years, but we lived together 6 or 7 months. He found him another woman to feel sorry for and married. And,
How many children did she have?
Huh?
How many children did she have?
Him? 6?
No, yeah, the woman he left you for. She had
10?
a lot
Oh,
of
he
children.
had 10, yeah.
Already before he married her?
Yeah, he felt sorry for me and married me because I was a double pneumonia. Absolutely, he felt sorry for me. And he was a habitual liar. He would lie when the truth sounded better. But he did die a Christian. But I'll tell you what.
And then you became good friends with his sister, right?
Oh, Sue and I are real close. We're just like sisters. But
And y'all still talk today.
oh yeah, I haven't called her in a while. But her son had a crush on you.
Back to you.
Uh-huh. Why did they keep going? They disturb me.
So what other jobs did you have while you were still single? Where else did you work?
Fixer out that grocery.
Were you working when you met Bill?
No, I thought when I married him I wouldn't have to work. I had to go back to work. I was working for the Southwestern Bell Telephone Company when I was married to Bill. Yeah. Yeah. I wish y'all would settle down or so because you make me forget. But,
So y'all were married 6 months, you and Bill, and then you
6
divorced.
and,
And then what did you do? Where
and
did
then,
you go?
and then, let's see, what was it? I think I lived with Sue. But Bill was good to me, just as good to me as Papa was. I mean, he would wait on me hand and foot, he would cook.
Wasn't you ironing or something when he
He-
came in and gave you the divorce papers or
No,
something?
no, but ironing, no, I was fixing to say he was ironing one of my dresses and burnt the tar out of it. But no, I don't know what I was doing. I was over at Sue's when he come in, when the sheriff come in. I didn't even know anything about it. Sheriff come in and gave me my divorce papers. I didn't even bother me one bit. And Sue and them shook their head. Sue and them always thought the world of me. They didn't care anything about him.
So then what did you do after the divorce?
And then, but the only good thing Bill ever did in his life was he introduced me to Papa.
How did that happen?
I was living, rooming and boarding at Sue and Kellis. And we was over at Sue's on 2-lane, 2-story house. And
He joined the service, didn't he?
he was in the Air Force. They were both in the Air Force. And anyway,
He
That-
came home one weekend.
Bill called one time from Scott's, Cotton's Drive-In on Shepherd Drive. Sue and all of them were playing canasta, and Bill's cousin and me weren't doing anything. I just got a shot. I had on this, here I was fat, had on this striped dress that went round and round this way on me. And anyway, I just got out of the shower. Hair was all wet. And Bill called and I answered the phone. He said, anybody that? Said, I got a friend with me. Said, we down at Cotton Drive-In off Shepherd Drive. Somebody come pick me and my friend up. I said, yeah, I guess Betty and I can. So, Betty and I got in the car. We went down to Cotton's and picked him up. Bill introduced us and he got in the back seat with Betty. And Papa got in the front seat with me. The minute I just tested that man, the minute I set eyes on him. Couldn't stand him. What's that, honey? What's that, honey? Move over. The time I got to Sue's house, I literally fell out of that car. He was that close to me. Papa was. Couldn't stand him. Couldn't get in that house fast enough.
But before, what'd you always say that?
That was the first time I met him.
I know, but you used to always say that you were going to marry
Wait
somebody.
a minute, let me get to it. Anyway, so I got out. This is the first time I met him, and I got out of the car. I went in the house, and I went to the couch, turned around. As I got to the couch, I turned around. He was coming in the front door, and our eyes locked. And then I said right then, I'm going to marry him. And
But before that, you said that you knew you were going to marry someone named Anthony.
one time, this was before he and I ever met and married. It was pouring down rain, and I was so lonely. And I was driving from Houston to Huntsville. And I was crying and praying. And I cried, I said, God, would you please send me a Christian husband by the name of Tony? I asked for that. And I said, 2 children, a boy and a girl. And he sent me Tony.
So that night when you met Papa,
Uh-huh.
what did he look like?
Good looking.
What was he dressed like?
It was an Air Force clothes, uniform.
He was in uniform?
Uh-huh.
What?
Yeah.
Can't resist that uniform.
Yeah.
What color was it back then? Was it brown, tan?
Brown. What was he, a corporal? Something. Anyway,
Who asked who out on the first date?
He did. Just listen to this. They having me go back and forth from the living room to the kitchen, serving coffee. So.
What were they doing?
They were playing canasta and talking, so Tony, Papa, sent me in to get him coffee. And I went in there and he followed behind me. And he always said honey. He started out honey, always honey. He said, said, you're going to Huntsville tonight. and Bill's going to Huntsville tonight. Is there any place that we can meet and go out, or this afternoon, really? I said, yeah, it's like that. And we went on about our business, and Director Papa called me back in there. Honey, I can't take you out tonight. I said, just why not? He says, because I only have $5. And back then he didn't take jokes very well, but I cracked up laughing. He said, what are you laughing about? I said, you can stay out all night in Huntsville and not spend $5. So he thought we would go bar hopping or something. I didn't drink or nothing. And so,
Wait, you trying to tell me you didn't drink?
I didn't. Not until first and last was in Mexico, and then no more.
First and last? In Mexico.
Pink ladies, I wasn't drinking nothing when Papa and I met and married. I never
It was
did.
not till after?
After. But anyway, this is this. And I wouldn't take nothing if he gave it to me right now. For a $1,000 bill. But
But you'll take a pill? No, I'm just joking.
I don't want anything. But then, you keep interrupting me.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
For $5, he could take you out.
Yeah, so anyway, Frank and Les Duncan, I had what was it? We all had that Chevrolet. What was that? Mine was a brown and a white. 74, 79? Yeah, I believe it was 79.
Buick?
No, I don't mean, no, I had a Chevrolet. What was it? 73?
No.
No, it wasn't that. It was 49, yeah.
Was it a Biscayne?
No, we had a 49 Chevy too. I had a brown and white, Daddy had a blue and a white, and Homer Duncan had a green and white. So anyway, Les and Frankie owned a drive-in behind, drive-in there, 75, they lived behind it. That's Homer's brother. And they got married, and Papa and I stood up at their wedding. But anyway, Les wanted to, this is our first date though, they were going somewhere. Maybe they'd been married or not. Anyway, they used my car for something. And this is about Tony's first date. Well, all they had was a big old dump, a big old van that had a driver's seat in it, and then it had the rope all the way around it. And so anyway, Papa got that rope down seat, and I just remember looking down at him and saying, "Hello, Shorty." And we was going to go to the movies, but we couldn't go in that darn thing. So Helen Acker worked for Les. We borrowed her car, and we went to the movies. And then we had to take her back her car because she was getting off work. And so we borrowed Wilma. Wilma had a Buick. We borrowed her car. And so he says, "Hey, do you know anywhere where we can go and park and talk?" And this is where this bit from out the Japanese nursery we used to go out and have wind roast and sack races. The church did. And I said, "Yeah." He thought to himself, "I can just see him. I got it made, you know." And I didn't move hands together. And so anyway, we got out there. He said, because I pulled in, I backed up, and I parked. I knew just exactly how to park, because that's the way we did whenever we were going out for a wind road. And you know that he was not a touch-me person. He was very gentleman. He talked. But we stayed out there till 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was on the driver's side with my head over, and he was on the passenger side. We both knew each other's life story. And I took him out at Bill Sylvester, the first husband's house, at 4 in the morning, around 4. And Ms. Holder got come to the door. "Nelda, get out and come in. Yeah, get out."
How old were you at that time? How old were you?
I was 26. Bill and I was married when I was 23, and I was 26 with Papa and I married.
When you met too?
Papa and I met 1 month. My ex-husband is useless, about 1 month. We married the next month. He went overseas for 19 months. He called me from San Antonio and said, honey, said, we can't get married. I got to go overseas. I said, oh, yes, we are.
Back up to say what happened when he asked you to marry him. Back up to say what happened when he asked you to marry him.
I told him, yes.
No, but didn't you have to tell him who Bill was?
Oh, I told him finally, yeah, I told him that night.
He said,
Yeah.
pull over.
Was driving home and I said, you better pull over.
No,
He
this
talked
was later.
marriage.
No, this was,
That night, he talked marriage at night. But then we was driving home, and he was driving wherever we was driving from.
it wasn't that night, it
I
was
don't
later.
know when it was.
Yeah.
But I said, pull over the side of the road. He wondered what? Then I told him, I said, I just want you to know that Bill Sylvester was my ex-husband. He said you could have floored him. He couldn't believe it. And
So where'd y'all get married at? You
at
and
Mama's
Papa?
and Daddy's.
Who all was there?
Lord, I don't know. It's the family.
All your brothers and
And
sisters?
Les Frankie Duncan stood up at our wedding. We stood up at theirs, they stood up at ours.
Who married you?
Brother, what's his name?
Prescott?
Yeah, Brother Prescott. And he said, Mr. Blank, will you take this lady to be your wedded wife? I do. So later on in years, I told Brother Prescott, I said, you called him Mr. Blank. He said, you may not even be married. I said, I better have. But anyway, I found out I could never have children.
But one thing that was funny was when y'all went to that movies. Remember, Papa? None of the ladies understood what he could say. His wives French.
I went to the movie. We stopped, and he wanted to go to the restroom. He asked him about the restroom. I cracked up. I don't know how he said it. Listen to him. He wants to know about the restroom. Well, listen to him talk, because he talks with that accent. He said, lady said, I've got to pee. Would you please show me the restroom before I pee? I said, piss all over myself.
Where'd y'all live after he got back from the military?
Well, let's see. We lived with Mom and Daddy for a while, but we
I think you were in Galena Park when.
we lived in Galena Park. And is that when that flood hit or what? We had to leave there.
So tell us a little bit about Papa's life before you married him.
Hmm?
A little bit about Papa's life. Had he been married?
Yeah, he married and had 2 boys, Anthony and Jimmy LeBlanc. I don't know whatever happened to Anthony, but Jimmy passed away years ago.
And then before before he was in the service, what did he do?
He was a professional boxer. He boxed in the ring for 10 years. If had he been married to me, he would have been champion. But and he would have, because he was really good at it. And his daddy taught him. His dad made a ring out in the yard for him and his brothers to fight. And but his word was his bond. A handshake and that's it. And so when they asked him to fight the champ, he told them that he wouldn't sign a contract. See, he wouldn't sign a contract. I told him if you'd have been married to me, you'd have signed a contract. He was married to Alice.
And where was he from?
Fall River, Massachusetts.
But he was born where?
Providence, Rhode Island.
I thought he was born in Canada.
No, that was Gerard.
Gerard, that's what?
But they moved to Canada, right?
No, they moved from Canada.
Where did they grow up at?
Massachusetts.
Fall River.
Oh.
You
So, you know what I wonder is how did he end up in Huntsville?
In our service,
Air
and he was in
Force.
the Air Force, and
But there's no
he was in
station.
Houston.
Oh, he was in Houston.
I lived on
He
Rob
came
Moore
with
in
his
Houston.
friend Sylvester
Two
Bill.
hours.
He was in the
Okay.
Air Force on leave that weekend.
Oh, okay.
And
So
then he met Mom, that's what kept him there.
Aww.
But what I was gonna say, he proposed to me, and then we'd already arranged the service and everything, and he calls me. Everything happened to me. It's raining, and he calls me. and
It's
says,
raining
"Honey,"
right now.
Huh?
It's raining right now.
He said, "Honey," said, "we can't get married." I said, "The heck we can't." And all of a sudden, I got in my little car, and off we took to San Antonio and went and got him. brought him back. And he had a 30-day pass. And I went with him to Massachusetts.
Then, yeah, they went to Massachusetts. They lived there for a while, and then
No, we stayed there for a little while. We didn't really live
that's
there.
where
We
you
stayed
got
with his
pregnant.
parents.
I thought you were staying there with his parents, and that's where you got pregnant.
It was his mom.
Hey,
yeah.
who'd you get pregnant with?
Huh? Who do you think?
I don't know. I mean, who
I
was?
was never supposed to have got pregnant. Two doctors told me I could never get pregnant. And while we were in El Paso, he was in the Air Force in El Paso, and I was down there with him. And